So Docker Compose, as the name implies, Docker Compose is it's a tool, is part of Docker, all right, that is used to create images. Docker Compose is a Docker utility that is used to create multiple containers at a go. Now, you look at this. We have been creating, when we try to create container, we use what? Docker run, Docker PS, right? We use Docker run to create containers. These containers are created one after the other. We cannot create them at once, right? We can't create them at once. So it takes time to create these containers one after the other. But with the concept of Docker Compose, we should be able to create multiple containers. I can define all my containers in a Docker Compose YAML file. YAML. So Docker Compose uses YAML. A YAML file, define all the containers there, and run a Docker Compose, then automatically it's going to create all the containers that we need. All right. So we're going to see some differences. But before then, let's look at the contents of the structure of Docker Compose. Structure of what? Docker Compose. Now, Docker Compose is made up of 4 major lines. The first line in Docker Compose is called the version. So version is where you define the version of the compose you are working with. The second line is services. So services is where you define the amount of containers you want to create. The third line is volumes. If you need to persist your data, the last line is what? Networks. If you need to create network to your what? To your containers. Great. So, but this volume and networks, they are optional. They're optional in the sense that not every container will have you will have to persist their data. Not every container you will have to persist their data. And not every container you want to attach a network to. Okay, so volumes and network is optional, right? So this is the structure of Docker Compose. Now, before we go into using Docker Compose, we have to install Docker Compose because Docker Compose does not come out of the box, right? It's not part of Docker. It's a different utility entirely, but it's based on Docker. So if I check all the commands that I have here, so you can see I have Docker container D, Docker CTRO, Docker container D Shin, Docker D, Docker init, and Docker proxy, and Docker run C. All right, Docker run C. So, what was it say? There's no Docker Compose, so I need to install it. So what do we do? So go to what? Google. I'll say Docker Compose installation, right? So I'll check for install Docker Compose standalone. This first, second link, third link, sorry. Or overview of install Docker Compose plugin. Let's check this one I open. Now, this is how to install Docker Compose. So on Linux, all right, on Windows Server, all right, so let's go on Linux. To download and install Docker Compose standalone, run this command. All right, so I'll just copy it. I've copied it. All right, I've copied. That's step one. So I'll go to I'll paste, right? I'll hit enter. So it has been downloaded. So this is where is it saved? Where the file? This is the file, install.sh. What didn't happen here now? No. What is it? Oh, permission denied, sorry. Permission denied. Didn't download it. So let's put sudo. It's trying to download and then move it to that guy. So say sudo. So it hasn't downloaded. Let's check. All right, it has been downloaded into this location, guys. Into this location, right? So if I check that location, I should see user local bin Docker Compose. You can see we have Docker Compose in this location. That's step one. So step two says, after downloading it, apply executable permissions to the standalone binary in the target path for the installation. So to do that, we copy this command, all right? So you're trying to create a link. So copy. All right. So create a symbolic link. Enter. Done. So now I can run Docker Compose. Do I have it? Let me check. Docker Compose. Sudo Docker Compose. Sudo. Okay, it's not found. So now what's saying that it said I should make this guy executable. Apply executable permission. So this is what I will do. I'll say sudo /user local bin Docker Compose. It's not coming up. So chmod +x, right? On Docker Compose, all right? So immediately that is done, I can run Docker Compose from anywhere now. You can see. So I can run Docker Compose. I can run Docker Compose -version. Version. So I'm running Docker Compose version 2.23. 2.23. Okay. So now let's get started. So in playing with Docker Compose, let me just create a directory. Let me say mkdir compose. Let me call it compose. Then let me change into what? The directory called compose. So this guy is empty. So in this directory, I'm going to create a file called docker-compose.yaml. Docker-compose-.yaml. Vim docker-compose.yaml. The file has to be like this. It's like the same experience that we had with Dockerfile, where we were told that while creating Dockerfile, by default, the file name has to be capital D Dockerfile. The same thing is applicable towards Docker Compose. The file name has to be what? Docker-compose.yaml, right? So here we are using what? The YAML, because Docker Compose uses what? YAML. It's a YAML file. So this YAML is going to lead us into Kubernetes, right? When we start, we shall start writing Kubernetes manifest. All right. So YAML is yet another markup language. So that's the meaning of YAML. YAML. yet another markup language. All right. So let's create the guy vim docker compose dot. You can keep it like this, or you can just keep it in short form. .yml or .yaml is the same thing. All right. It's the same thing, guys. So let's open this file. Like we said, the structure of Docker Compose is like this. First is the version. You specify the version. Next is services. Services. Next is what? Volumes. That will be EXO. The last is what? Networks. This is the structure of what? Docker Compose. Like we rightly said, volumes and network are what? Are optional. We are going to leave them out for now. All right. Now, so let's look at version. So I'll go to what? Google, right? I'll come here. I'll say Docker Compose version. So let's look at compose file version. Open this. So again, in those days, it is very paramount. It's very recommended. It is required to use what? To specify the version of Docker Compose you're using, right, in your file. But these days, you don't need to specify the version number, right? You can put it to, you cannot put it. It's now optional. They've made it so optional. So by default, this is version 3 point something, right? So let's try to use Docker Compose version 3. So I'll say column space 3. I'll just put it in quotes. That's the space, yeah. All right. So let's see how it's being used. Let's see how it's being used. Let me see how it's being used. So this is how it's being used. Space, double quotes. All right. That's how it's being used. Single quote, double quotes, that's okay. Now, let me save and quit. Save and quit. So, Docker PS. I have these containers. I want to delete these containers. I don't want them anymore. So Docker rm-f $ Docker ps-aq. So I'm deleting everything. See, I want to show us an equivalent command that we can use in creating equivalent command on Docker Compose that we can use in creating container. Now, remember, when we want to create a container, we always say Docker run -d. The container name. Let me just say MySQL, right? --name. My con. Environment variable. I will say my SQL _ root _ password. Password. Then the name of the image. MySQL. All right, enter. Now Docker PS. What are we missing, guys? Sorry, the value. Delete. The password. 1 2 3 4. Docker PS. All right. Now, let's see how we can replicate this same command inside of what? Docker Compose. Let me delete that container. Let me delete the container. It's been deleted. So let's see how can what? Replicate this guy using what? Docker Compose. Let me just copy it. So I won't be going back and forth. So open your file, Docker Compose. Let me just paste it somewhere. Now, I need to specify the service name. The service name is going to be, because this container is a database. You can give it a name. I'll call it DB. That is the name of the service, DB. Now, when creating service name, what and what? The next thing is what? The name of the container. Right? All right? The name of the container. Now, to specify container name, let's look at Docker reference, Docker compose reference file. Docker compose file reference. Docker compose file reference. Open this link. Now, this is the reference documentation for Docker compose. You can always make use of this documentation, right? So I'm going to teach us how to use this documentation. Now, I need to specify the name of this container. How do we do it inside of Docker compose? Now let's search. I'll search for container name. I'll search for name, Control F. I'll say name. Explain to you. Container. I'll search for container. Underscore. All right. Container underscore name. Right. So now this is the keyword you use. Let's scroll down. So in defining, okay, take example. Here's the service. Here's the name of the service. And the name of the container should be container underscore name. All right. So let's go back there. So the keyword to use is container underscore name. So I'll come down, container underscore name. The name is my con. We have defined this name. Now we need to set an environment variable. Let's check. But before environment variable, the image name is what? This. So let's look for image. These are the defined image, just image, then the name of the image. Let's come here. I'll come down. I'll say what? Image, column, the value. Name of the image is what? MySQL. Now, we need to set what? Environment variable. Now, let's look for environment variable. Control F. Environment. All right. So, environment variable. How do they define environment variable? Let's see. This from a file. Environment. So you use the keyword environment, right? Environment, then you specify the variable, the key value, the keywords and values. So let's go and check. So I'll use the keyword environment. So I'll come down. I'll say environment column is a key value pair. So the key is MySQL. Specify your dash. The key is, this is the key. Control C and paste. And the value is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the value. All right. So there are different ways you can use it like this without a dash. You can use without a dash, and it has to be column. If you're putting a dash, it has to be equal to. All right. Now we are going to use two different methods. So let me define another environment variable. Another environment variable that will be my name column. My name is Frank. All right. So let's save this guy. We are through, man. So ports. So this guy runs on port 3306. Let's see how to reference ports in Docker Compose. So I'll say Control F. I'll say ports. So using ports, let's see ports. Ports, expose ports. So let's see. So this is what you do. So you can say the keyword ports column either like this, or you define a port range, or this is port mapping. This is port mapping 8,000 to 8,000. This is range mapping from this range to this range. All right. This is just mapping IP address to port to another port. So these are different ways you can actually define ports in what in Docker Compose. So let's just use one method. So I can come here and say ports at this level. You have to be very careful because indentation is very key. So ports uses dash. So I could say 3306 column 3306. That's internal to external. I mean external to internal. So that's all, guys. That's all. So let's save and quit. Let me remove this line. Save and quit. So now there's Docker Compose command. So let's check if we have any container. There's no container running. Let's check. There's no container running. So now say what? Docker Compose dash up dash D. So this is going towards create a container out of what we have defined so far in our Docker Compose file, cat, right? So it's going to create a container, right, with the container name mycon from this image with these environment variables. So let's check, guys. So I'll say what? Docker Compose up dash D, enter. And what is it? Say line 8, mapping values are not allowed in this context. Let's see something. Say line 8. Line 8. Now, there's one feature of Vim. All right. Assuming now this line 8 is very far. Or let's say you have lines of code, and your lines of code are up to like 200,000. And you are getting an error, and the error is pointing you to a specific line. And you know fully well that if you use Vim and open that file, you can't be scrolling to that particular line. All right. So Vim has a feature that you can use alongside that feature with a file plus the line number. It will take you directly into it will take you directly to the line at which this error is pointing to. Now this error is pointing towards line 8. So I will use Vim feature called numbering, line numbering. So I'll say Vim space +8. I'll say +8 because it's line 8. I want Vim to take me to line 8 of this file, of what? This Docker Compose file. So if I hit enter now, you see that Vim will be, can you see now? It is on line 8. If I say set NU, I am directly on line 8. Take note, guys. I'm directly on line 8. Similarly, if it is line 2000, you always say Vim plus 2000, then a file name, right? So saying this method is not allowed. So remove, put double quotes instead. Let's check. Let me check. Now let's do the Docker build again. Docker Compose up. Let's see. It's still not allowed. Let's go back there again. So let me remove that double quotes. All right. Okay. So save and quit. Docker Compose up. Mapping values are not allowed in this context. Mapping values are not allowed. Mapping values are not allowed in this context. In this context. All right, let me do something. Let me put double quotes here and double quotes here. Let's see. But it's line 8 is pointing to. line 6. Return. Okay. Okay. Let's see. All right. I see now. I see. There should be no space. There should be no space here, guys. There should be no space. Let's test it and see again. Now, Docker compose. All right, guys. Now, look at now. We shall explain. Let's go back to this file again. So take note, guys, there should be no space in creating your environment variables, right? This is one style of environment variable. This is another style of environment variable, right? So let's go out. So that was successful. Saying building, running, network compose is giving us a default network, right? And the container was created. So let's check. So Docker PS. You can see this container was actually what's created. So if I do a Docker exec -it mycon bash, I'm inside. If I print environment variable, print env, I'll see that Frank. Where is that Frank? My name, Frank. No. It's supposed to come down. What's this? What's this? What's this? No. Let me wait. Let's go back there. Why is it wait to go. Dollar compose up. You don't find expected. Let me try something. Why is it? Why is it like this now? Let go. Dollar compose. Docker exec. Print env. Where is that Frank? Host name. No deal. So wait, what's that now? Print env grep Frank. No deal. Come. Why? Sorry. It has to be equal to. You're putting dash, that will be equal to. So why is not well, let me check that env again one more time. Sorry. Environments. Okay, I guess. All right. So it's either this method or this method. I think it's like you can't use the mix. You can't mix them up. Either this or this. either with a dash or without a dash, right? So you can't mix them up. So let's update this guy. So there's no dash. There's a dash, sorry. So it's either of them. Now Docker Compose up. Created. Docker exec. Print env. So now I have it Frank, my name as Frank, my password as this. Okay, so this is how you get to create container. Now I want to create another container. So let me call that container web. So I'll go into my Docker Compose file. So this is one service, all right? This is one service and another service. So I need to create another service. You have to watch the indentation. Call it web, right? Then the container name, container underscore name will be Apache con, right? Then the image will be based on what? HTTPD. Then there's no environment variable. By default, you can, if you want to specify ports, right? Ports. So you want to say column 8080 towards to 80, all right? So I think that's all. Escape, save and quit. Now you do what? Docker compose up-d. So this guy is going to create this web. You can see he's downloading it and it's creating that container. Okay. So it's also created this other container. So we have two services, Mycon and Apache. So let's check Docker PS. You can see I have two containers running, Apache Con and what? MySQL. So let's see how we can access Apache Con from the browser. All right. So it's on port 8080. 8080. So I'll go and pick my public IP. My public IP is this. Copy. Come to your browser. Paste it. Dot. So remember, it's port 8080, right? Column 8080. So this guy now is coming from my container. It's coming from my container. All right. So you can do a lot of things, guys. You can do a lot of things. So let's look at a proper reference. All right. So let's look at this is a Redis service. Image is Redis deploy. Let's look. In here, they also set memory limits, resources. This makes sense. Then this should lead us to Kubernetes. But now we stand, let's continue. All right. So now let's look how we can incorporate network and volume. Okay, let's use volume now. So now this the area that has volume, and these are use volumes. Now you come in MySQL, you define volume, you use the keyword volume, then you do your mapping, right? Your mapping now is you map, if it's a binding volume, you map your directory to your what? Directory inside of what? MySQL. So let's copy this section. Let's persist our data. So I'll go back to what? My Docker Compose. So I'm going to persist my DB data. So I'll come here. I'll say volumes. No, not S, sorry, just volume. Just volume. Then come down, specify the what? Your directory. I'll call it DB data. Column the location where MySQL stores all of its files. So it's under /var/lib/MySQL. Right? So let's see what they have here. Is it in double quote? No, in double quote. So this is fine. This is fine. All right. So, oh, it's volume with an S, sorry. Then S. S. Then once you're done, you come down here. You come down here to create that volume. You have to specify that volume. You come here, you say what? DB data column. If you don't do it like this, Docker Compose is going to throw up an error. So you can see how they define it in the documentation. After specifying the binding volume here, you come here to create that volume. All right. Now, we have to create it. So this is what we've done. Okay. Escape, save and quit. So I'll say what mkdir db data. I have created this guy. You can see there's nothing inside of this db data. It's empty. Now let's run our Docker Compose. Docker Compose -d up. Sorry, Docker Compose up -d. So let's see. Now, great. Now this volume was created. All right. Container was created. Now let's check now. Let's check the content of this guy. Okay. Okay. So what this guy did for us is it's a normal volume. It's a normal volume. Let's check how to set up a binding volume. This is a normal volume. A normal volume. It's like I won't specify this guy here. Yes. Let's redo it. Let's redo it. So let me block this guy in a normal volume. Now let's save and quit. Docker Compose up -d. Okay, DB refers to undefined volume data. Undefined volume data. All right, undefined volume data. Bam, 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 bam. Wait, let me check for binding volume. Let me find binding. Bind. And a bind mount defined. Let's check. Okay. You have to categorically use this keyword. Type is a bind. You have to tell Docker that the type of this volume is a binding volume, and you will specify the source and the destination. So this is what we'll do, guys. All right, great. So let's come here. So let's go back to that file. Where is it? Okay. So under volumes, I'll come here. I will say the type. Under volumes. So the type is what? Bind. The type is bind. Okay. Now specify the source. The source is DB is where is it located? Let's check the source again, please. Let's check the source again. PWD. So PWD is this. Then it's somewhere here. DB data. So I'll say $, PWD / DB data. Then the destination, the targets, sorry. The targets will be that. That's the target. Okay? So now let's create this guy and see something. Escape, save and quit. So I'll say Docker Compose up. So let's see. So this is done, successful. Let's check. So you can see I now have some data here now. So let's check now. LL, DB data. So you can see I have persisted the content of what? My SQL data. So let's clean it. Let's check our Docker Compose file. So this is what I did. So for binding volume, you have to categorically under volume specify the type as what? Bind. Then you set your source, the source and your targets. The targets. This is for what? Binding volume. Okay. Now in a situation where we need to set normal volume, all right. Now let's create a normal volume. So for that, I'm going to go back into this guy. So let me comment out these guys. So if not, even you can use boots, sha. You can use boots. So let me check. So for the other one, we can say volumes, then the source and destination. So I can say volumes. I will now say, what did you do last time? Specify. All right. Specify dash. It has to be dash my DB data column / var lead MySQL. All right. Then bottom here, you have to reference that volume. You have to reference it, which is, you say my what? DB capital D data. So you have to reference it, all right? You're creating a normal volume. So this is a normal volume. So let's escape, save and quit, right? So now let's run Docker Compose again. Up. You can see it's creating this volume. It's calling what? It's prefixing compose to it. Compose, then the volume name. So now how do we see this? So we have to go towards the default root directory of what? Docker, which is under cd var lib docker permission denied sudo. I'm not getting this. Let's go to root -i. So change directory var lib docker. So in here we are going to see what? Volumes. So go to volumes. So in here you should see the different volumes. You can see here's a volume that Compose created for us. So say what? Change directory compose underscore my this. Now let's check. We have underscore data. Let's check. You can see the data are all what? Persisted. So similarly, the same thing if you need to create network. So let's come back here. Let's search for network. What network link to you? So okay, why using network? So they have created a network here. So let's check up here. All right, so they just say webnet. So this container, this service is going to use what? The webnet container. So let's check in our own. So now I'm going to exit. Then I'll do what? I'll go to what? My Docker Compose. So below here, I'll create a network. I'll just reference the network. I'll say what? Webnet. Web network column. Right? Escape, save and quit. Now let's run Docker Compose up. So it's going to show it has already created this network. So it means that it only created the network, but we didn't attach that network to a container. Because if you can check, if we inspect, Docker inspect my con. This guy doesn't have, we only have one, which is compose default network. All right. That's it. Similarly with what? Apache con. Apache con only has one. So now I want to attach this network. So this is what I will do. We use network here. Let's check where they've used network. They have the define. All right, so this is it now. Networks, then the network name. All right. So let's go there now. So I'll go back to my Docker Compose file. So I want to attach this web to my network, which is my webnet. So I'll say what? I'll come here. I'll type networks, column. No. That will be on this level. Then that will be dash the network name, webnet. You can see that's how it's being used here. Webnets. All right. Now let's build it. Escape, save and quit. Docker Compose up. So you can see it has created this network, all right, and it has attached it towards to this service. Now, if I check Docker inspect Apache con, I should see that I have this guy, which is the compose webnet, right? The compose what? Webnet. Similarly, if I want my SQL con to have access to this network, I'll do the same thing. I'll come to this service up right here, and I will say networks, column, webnets. That's it. Escape, save and quit. Now, Docker Compose up. So it has created for what? My con. Now let's inspect my con. Inspect my con. You can see that my con also has this guy. So far, so good, guys. We have seen the in and out of Docker Compose. There's a lot you can get from what? Docker Compose. All you need to do is just go through this reference. All right. Go through this reference. You see a lot of things you can do with Docker Compose. So now let's see how we can create an image using what? Docker Compose. Let's see. Now, before you create an image with Docker Compose, you must have a Docker file. All right. You must have a Docker file. So I'm going to create a Docker file. I'll say Docker file. Now in this Docker file, I'll just say from CentOS version 7. Then just simple thing. What do I need to do? Work dir/app. And I think that's all. Simple. Then just to create an image, you can set a command. You can say command. Okay. Just simple, guys. Save and quit. Now, I'm now go to my what? Compose file. So in here, I need to create an image. So I'll call this service. I'll call it CentOS. Then I'll just give it a name. I'll say what? Image. Image is CentOS img. All right, CentOS img. What else? What else? That's all. Though. That's all. Okay, now I need to set something. I need to set context. All right. I'll say context. Let's look for context. When building image, let me say build. Let's look for build. Build. That's when building image with Docker Compose. Let's look for build. Okay, build. You have to use the keyword build. Let me see. Build. Okay. Okay. Proxy build. I'm coming home. All right. So build column. All right, great. Now open this file. Come here and say build column. Now you specify the context. The context of the build, where your Docker file is your Docker file is in your current directory. So that's why I'm specifying my context as a dot. All right. I will escape. I will save and quit. Now I'll do what? Docker images. Let's check. You can see there's no other strange image. There's no strange image here. All right. So let's now create that image. So I'll say what? Docker compose build. I'll use the Docker compose build command. Let me check. Compose build. So this Docker compose build is going to build this image. It has built that image. Exporting image, writing layers. Let's check. Docker images. You can see I have the CentOS IMG. So I've been able to use what? Docker compose to create an image that doesn't exist. So based on this image, I could just create a container. All right. So let's run the command. The command was what? Docker compose build. All right. Docker compose build, and it builds the image. Now let's look at other build application. Build this, build context, command. All right. So you see now, if I create a container out of this image, this image is going to exit because it's an operating system. And we all know that operating system does not have a process. Now, to create a process in that image, we will pass a command at the time of building it. So this is what we'll do. We'll go back to our Docker Compose file. And in here, we'll say what? Command. So command, I want to pass a command that will keep this image alive. So this is what I will do. I will say Python dash HTTP server, right? So this process is used. This command, the commando, this is used to run an HTTP server in a Python application, right? With the use of Python. So with this command now, I should be able to create a running process inside of this image. Let's check that and see. So I will save it. Then I'll do a Docker compose, then build. It has been built, all right? So now let's create a container out of that image. To create a container of the image, so I'll go back to my Docker compose, all right? So with this now, I could now say something, okay? So we have this image already. So I'll now say container underscore name. Container underscore name is CentOS con, right? CentOS con. Escape. Save and quit. Now let's do what? Docker compose up -d. So it has created what this container CentOS con. Now let's check Docker PS. Wow. Damn. Why no work? PS-A. Why now? HTTP server. Oh, simple. Sorry, guys. Sorry. So let me go back to my Docker Compose. It has to be simple HTTP server. Simple HTTP server. That's it. So let's rerun create the image. We create the image. So I'll say what? Docker Compose build. Created. Now, let's now do what? Let's run the container. Docker compose up. Created. Now, Docker PS, let's check. So you can see our process is now up and running. I can exec into that container. So I'll say Docker exec -it container name CentOS con bash. So I'm inside, guys. ls. So far, so good, guys. We have seen it all. We have seen it all where we've used Docker Compose to create multiple containers. We use Docker Compose to also perform volume to create network. We've also see how we use Docker Compose to create an image from a Docker file, right? So far, so good, guys. I think with this will bring us the end of Docker. And again, like I said, please, when you're practicing, take your time. I'll share this note with you guys. I'll share this with you guys. All right, so I've shared that note with you guys. So when you're practicing, just take your time from the beginning of what it's linked to. And just read along, and do your thing, guys. Do your thing. So at this juncture, guys, is there any question for you today? So if there's no question, I'd love to thank you all and see you next week, Friday. See you next week, Friday. All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank boss.
Yeah, man.
Good night.
Yeah.
Mr. Prime, thank you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah. Stop recording.